Singapore is set to trial COVID-19 rapid testing as the country heads towards phase 3 of reopening, possibly before the end of the year. The first pilot event will take place next week. The multi-ministry task force says that tightened testing and safety protocols will have to go hand in hand with any further easing of restrictions, and that includes allowing larger group gatherings. Cheryl Goh joins us live now for more. Cheryl, the Health Ministry plans to pilot the use of pre-event testing at larger scale events. What's the thinking behind this, and how will it be done?
Well, Dawn, it's really to allow more economic and social activities to resume. Antigen rapid tests, or ART, will be used for this. They're faster and cheaper. They are a faster and cheaper way of identifying potential COVID-19 cases, and they will complement the existing polymerase chain reaction, or PCR tests, which is the current gold standard for testing for infections. Now, the Health Ministry says that ART will require a similar nose swab and can return fairly accurate results, and the key is quickly, so within 15 minutes to about half an hour. And PCR tests, as we know, on the other hand, take about 1 to 2 days given the laboratory work that's involved. So selected events across different settings will be identified from October, which is this month, to December to pilot this testing. Participants going to an event will be tested, for example, at either the event venue itself, if the space permits, or they might have to go to a separate testing facility, perhaps 24 hours before the actual event to get tested. And they need to have a negative test result in order to go for that event. So one example of a business-to-business event that may be piloting this pre-event testing is the Singapore International Energy Week next week. Also interesting to note is that recovered COVID-19 patients will be exempted from this test for now for a period of about 6 months from their recovery, as they are thought to have a level of immunity against the virus. The Health Ministry said it will study pre-existing testing processes and identify a model that can be implemented more widely. And if these pilots prove successful, then we will have something to look forward to round off the year if phase 3 is announced. Let's hear from Task Force Co-Chair Lawrence Wong.
Any relaxation has to come with additional controls and safeguards. In some ways, you can liken the current situation to one where a fire has just been put out, but there are still embers of the fire lying around. Each time we make further relaxation of any measures, we are simply adding wood to the fire. And you don't know when, but at some point in time, the more wood you add, the whole thing will combust yet again into a giant fire.
It is a difficult scenario to work through. Cheryl, tell us what phase 3, though, could look like.
Well, Steve, so the task force says it is indeed looking to resume more activities safely, but they were very quick to stress that phase 3 is not a return to the new pre-COVID normal, So the silver lining is that as we head to phase 3, most of us, we're kind of used to the safe distancing measures, and these good habits of keeping clean and keeping hygienic, they are beginning to stick among the population. So the key measures will be to maintain these safe distancing, but at the same time have some adjustments. So for instance, something that we are all looking forward to is that the group limits for dining out and outside group activities could possibly be raised from 5 to 8 people. And this also applies to home visits. And it's something that I think a lot of us are looking forward to. It's better for bigger families, as well as the upcoming year-end festivities. Now, for larger scale functions like weddings and religious worship services, what the task force is looking at is more possible zones of 50. So currently only 2 are allowed. So they can accommodate, as long as the venue can accommodate more separate zones of 50, that could possibly come into force as well. The task force was keen to stress that easing could happen if phase 3 happens. And of course, local transmission of cases must remain low, and we must all do our part to stay vigilant. In the meantime, the task force is also looking to ramp up the deployment of Trace Together Only Safe Entry, and this will start at cinemas next week and may eventually be rolled out to other places like restaurants. There are also pilots for the nightlife industry, which is not going to be reopened at this point yet, and there's going to be ways to help them. Let's hear from Mr. Wong again.
We are prepared to consider pilots in some of these settings with much more stringent safe management measures in place. So we will discuss with the nightlife industry how some of these pilots can take place and what are some of the more stringent conditions. But the basic point is that we do not expect the nightlife industry to be able to reopen or to be able to go back to what it used to be anytime soon.
So Mr. Wong also did add that they're working on ways to help the nightlife industry tide through this period, including a government assistance package that could help businesses if they want to exit, transit or pivot to a new industry. Back to you guys.
Cheryl, thank you very much for that. That was Cheryl Goh there with the latest from Singapore's multi-ministry task force meeting.